Hey, Allie here with the Bead Chest. Today we're going to be making some beaded bracelets with wire and glass beads. These could take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes depending on how many you want to make. So let's dive in. The materials you're going to need are the 5mm circular disc brass beads, the 4mm white Ghana glass beads, the white Ashanti glass beads, mini lobster clasp, 6mm jump ring, 2 gold crimping beads, the 0.015-inch stringing wire, this one is in gold, scissors, and needle nose pliers. As always, the bead board is optional, but I do suggest it. It just helps make your projects a little simpler and cleaner. So let's dive in. First, I want to show you how to make this beautiful white Ashanti glass bead bracelet. These are really in right now, and I love the little brass elements. So we're gonna start with our stringing wire. I like to just follow the rule of whatever fits your wrist. So I just like to take the wire measured around my wrist, give you a little extra space to work with, and then cut that off. Then we're going to start with our clasp. So you're going to take a tiny little crimp and your mini lobster clasp and string that through. Then you're going to take your wire and string it back through the crimp. Pull that crimp towards that clasp. Take your needle nose pliers. Give yourself a little bit of space between the clasp and the crimp. That little guy. We're gonna start with one of our circular brass beads. Because these white Ashanti glass beads have a bigger hole in them, I like to do something smaller near the clasp, otherwise that bead really starts to come up onto your clasp. So we're gonna start with that brass bead, or any kind of accent bead you might have, and then string one of these Ashanti glass beads on. And as you can see here, that hole is pretty big when it comes to the bead, so it's good to start with something smaller. And we're gonna do 15 of these white Ashanti glass beads. So 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10. If you don't have a bead board at home, that's okay. I would just make sure to keep your work on your table. I've mentioned before, it's always so heartbreaking when you have your work up in the air and if you drop it and your beads go everywhere. Then we're gonna take a circular brass bead and alternate with the Ashanti glass beads. And I'm gonna do 5. I like the way that 5 sits on the top of my wrist. So we're just gonna do brass bead, glass bead, brass bead, glass bead, and then we'll finish it off with 15 more of the glass beads. 2, 13, 14, 15. One thing you can do is pre-count your beads out so you don't have to worry about keeping track, especially if you're in an environment where it's a little loud or you're talking with a friend. You do want to make sure that your wire is strung through from your crimp, so just make sure it's tucked into those glass beads before you finish off your bracelet. As you can see here, it's poking out a little bit, so we're just going to tuck that in and make sure it's in there nice. Yes, okay. Then we take our crimp. I'm using gold crimps just to match with the gold clasp and the gold wire. And then you take your 6mm jump ring, string that through, and same concept as the other side. So you're gonna string through your crimp, through that circular bead, and I'd go through about 2 or 3 of these glass beads. And you'll just pull that out on the other side. of one of those glass beads. Now the toughest part about these wired bracelets is just making sure that everything is really tight. So just kind of give your stuff a little shake. My favorite trick here is to lay your stuff down, pull the main string as tight as you can in all the pieces, so you can see the jump ring hanging here. Then take your finger and your thumb and hold pretty far down to the bracelet and then pull that wire. That'll ensure that this part is really tight. So as you can see here, there's still a little space that I want to get rid of right here. So you'll just pull the bead and the crimp down, grab some beads back here, and then pull on that wire. Make sure it's super taut. Because there's nothing worse than having some loose beads. We're wanting to make these look as professional as possible. There we go. As soon as you're as tight as it can be, take your needle nose pliers and crimp. Then you'll just go in and trim off the excess of that wire. And get as close as you can to that bead so that you don't have anything poking out at you. And just tuck in the beads, and there you have a beautiful glass bracelet. This is what I would say would be the accent piece. You can also go in and make some simpler ones. So here you can see I made one with just the white glass Ghana beads and one with just the circular beads. So get creative. What's cool is that you can have that whole stack and even add some more different colors of those white glass Ashanti beads and stack up your arm. Make sure you click the button below to add all these items to cart so you can make your own glass bracelets, and we'll see you next week. Bye.